Hello, I am Dr. Darlene Blaney. I am the Alberta Health Director and I have a PhD in nutrition. It is my passion and joy to work with people from a perspective of diet and lifestyle, helping them to prevent and reverse various diseases. And today, my question to you is, do you eat to live or do you live to eat? I always say there is nothing closer to your heart than your refrigerator. And when I begin to pick on your refrigerator, it's like playing with fire. So why is this? I remember watching a TV interview quite some time ago of some children who were obese. And they interviewed the parents. While they were interviewing the parents, the children were in the back room known as the green room. And they showed these children sitting there with platters of donuts and cheesies and eating whatever they felt like. And so they asked the parents, how do you feel about your children being overweight? And the parents actually on this program had no issue with it. Many of them said it was just baby fat and they would burn that fat off eventually. Others felt that if they deprived them in the way of not giving them a food that they were wanting or the amount that they were wanting, that perhaps that would be abusing them. Others felt that, they didn't want to deprive them in any way and that there was no big deal and the kids would come along just fine eventually. They brought out a little girl that was 4 or 5 years old and she couldn't even hold her own body weight to stand up and walk. She would crawl or drag herself across the floor. It was quite an eye-opener. I remember the one story particularly of this little boy. They showed a picture of a refrigerator that had a chain wrapped around it, and the fridge was all bashed and banged in. And the mother explained that if the child couldn't get into it, he would take whatever he could find and just hammer that fridge to get at that food. And so they had to put a chain and a padlock on it to keep him out. Why do we go through this? What is the addictions? Why is it that we need food for fuel, but yet we can be so tormented by it at the same time? Do you realize that your taste buds are actually stronger than your will to live? That's pretty powerful if you think about it. Your will to live is super powerful. How many people have tried to commit suicide and couldn't, which was a good thing, but they couldn't because of the strength of their will to live. And to think that your taste buds are even stronger than that. My question is, if the devil is going to tempt you or try to tear you down, it's usually he'll pick on the weakest link, and our taste buds are one of those weaker links. So knowing that our taste buds are stronger than our will to live, we then have to question ourselves on a daily basis. Do we want to do our will or God's will? I think of a text that's very well known, and it's found in 1 Corinthians 6, 19 and 20. And that is the text that says, do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. And I know you've heard that before. And many times it's easier said than done, right? Well, the good news is that your taste buds change every 14 days. So that means what you eat during those 14 days will establish your taste buds. If you're going to want to eat more fruits and vegetables, you will maybe have to force yourself to do that for about 14 days. But after that 14 days, those taste buds will actually have a craving for that food that you've eaten. That's why sometimes we have those special holidays like Christmas and Easter, and we can get into big dinners and maybe some sweets and treats. And pretty soon we find ourselves addicted and we want to eat more and more of that. And that is because those taste buds have changed over that time period to make us crave those foods. So we need to get back on track, change those taste buds to crave the good foods that we need. God created us to eat and to enjoy food. We need food for fuel, don't we? But we need the right food. We know that food can be comfort, it can be social, and it can be for physical and mental energy and healing. I believe God created us to enjoy food. After all, why would He make fruits and veggies so beautiful in color and textures, and each one so different with such a variety? Definitely, He wants us to enjoy eating, but it's a matter of being able to control how much we eat and our choices of what we eat. Diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, these diseases are actually diet and lifestyle controlled by about 80%. So again, what we're putting into our mouths, those choices that we make that difference. What we eat can directly have an influence, even on the brain, specifically the frontal lobe of our brain. How much we eat, as also mentioned, sometimes this is why a good cleanse, or we sometimes fast for spiritual growth. What happens when we fast? We're cutting back on that food and we're just having water or juice or raw foods. You will notice, if you've ever done that your mind is clear and focused. And that's the reason for fasting with prayer. Our minds are clear and we can hear the Lord speak to us. We want clear minds all the time. Doesn't mean we have to fast all the time, but making those right decisions of the right foods that we take in can help us have a clear mind. The frontal lobe of your brain is where your spirituality, your morality, your will all reside. Basically, your character of who you are resides there. This is the choices that we make will have a direct influence on that frontal lobe of the brain. Otherwise, it'll influence your character and who you are. This can begin as children, for example. If you think back to that interview I just mentioned with the parents and the small children and what they were eating and the amount of it, their diet and lifestyle choices that they are making for their children play a role of who they will actually become as adults. It is developing their character. So, what kind of foods do we need for optimal diet and nutrition for the brain specifically? Well, first of all, sugars. Of course, whole fruits are one thing. They have sugar, but it is a good sugar because they've got the fiber and other nutrients to go with it. But refined sugar is an issue. Do you realize that your brain takes 45 to 75 minutes to regain normal intellectual function after your blood sugar returns to normal? And it's been said that children in school can actually improve their grades by a whole grade letter, by cutting out sugar out of their diets. Fat, saturated animal fat, any type of animal products, these types of fats make your brain nerve communications more difficult. We do need fat though, but we need a good fat. We need essential fats, your omega fats. These are what nourish the brain. When you think of a walnut, what does it look like? It looks like a brain, doesn't it? It's pretty cool. And walnuts are pure omega-3 fat. And we know omega-3s are what nourish particularly the brain. And so eat a good number of these omega-3 fat type foods. We have to work for them. And so your walnuts, your flax seeds ground, or your flaxseed oil, those are pure omega-3s. Omega-3 and 6 is also good, that balance. So in your hemp hearts and your chia seeds, include those as well. We have a lot of omega-6 and unsaturated type fats in our other fruits and veggies as well, including our other nuts and seeds, but even in our vegetables and our legumes. So eating a good variety of these will induce flexible membranes, promoting more efficient brain communications. I love the text in Revelation 22:4 that says, "And they shall see his face, and his name shall be in their foreheads." What is right behind your forehead? The frontal lobe. Remember where your character resides. So this verse is saying, they shall see his face. Whose face? Jesus' face. Jesus' character can be reflected through your character, which is right behind your forehead in the frontal lobe of your brain. Have you ever thought of that text that way? It's amazing. Whatever we can do to try to influence our characters to represent and reflect Jesus' character is our goal. Remember in 1 Corinthians 10:31 that says, whatever you eat or drink, do all to the glory of God. And so the question is, do you eat to live or do you live to eat? Enjoy the plentiful diet that God has given us. Beautiful in color and flavor, aroma. Enjoy. But make those wise choices and choose to do His will over your will. Thank you so much for listening.